All right, welcome back to SF Vortex. You know, in the tradition of The Crow and Batman, there's another comic book hero coming to a big screen near you. Production is currently underway on Spawn, folks, and we've got a behind-the-scenes look at the film as it's being born. Spawn is the brainchild of Todd McFarlane, and after only 4 years and 51 issues, the comic is one of the hottest commodities. And now it's a feature-length movie. Spawn is unlike traditional heroes. He walks with as many sinners as saints.
He's caught in between these sort of two worlds of heaven and hell. He truly has a good heart. He has a good soul, but in going through the process of attaining the knowledge or the singularity of his good soul, he has to be in the presence of these people who are, potentially bad omens on him.
Spawn's nemesis is Clown, played in the film by John Leguizamo, star of Executive Decision and Romeo and Juliet.
One helping of Wanda's brain has all the nutritional value of all 4 food groups.
And the anti-hero himself is played by Michael J. White.
I feel it's a character that's evolved with the times. We have the duality in our lead character there. And our superhero is not necessarily just cookies and cream superhero, just nice, So I think it's a challenging thing to face as an actor.
All right, Spawn has a budget of $43 million, folks, and is set to hit theaters next summer, so you got plenty of time to stick around for the War Room. What's the topic? Superheroes, anti-heroes, and who better to hash it out than the legendary Stan Lee, the man responsible for some of the most important heroes in comic book history. Also, Warren James is here, the War Room's own rocket scientist, as well as host of Hour 25, that terrific SF radio show on Los Angeles station, KPFK. I listen to it all the time, Warren. I like you on that show. And also, Daniel Bernardi is here, creative writer, author of The Wrath of Whiteness, The Meaning of Race in the Generation of Star Trek. Guys, welcome. Thanks for being here. Lots to get to, so let me start off, okay? Big resurgence of these comic book heroes making it to the big screen. However, many of them coming in the form of anti-heroes. Is this because our heroes are becoming boring, Warren?
Yeah, the traditional muscle-bound superhero is incredibly boring. They're pathetically boring.
Exactly.
What's to be concerned with and interested in when you got a hero who's almost invincible and nothing can hurt him? What's to be concerned with? There's no challenge, no problem.
I agree with that. In fact, you'll find that Marvel, I think we were the ones who originated the flawed heroes. Every one of ours. Iron Man has a bad heart, and on. In fact, Spider-Man, I think it was 30 years ago, the Village Voice in New York did a first write-up about Spider-Man, and in their headline, they referred to him as America's anti-hero. And I had never heard that expression before used for a comic book character. In fact, it hadn't been. But I think when they referred to him as an anti-hero, they meant he was one of the first characters that the police didn't automatically love him and send for him when there was a crime committed. They didn't trust him, and they weren't sure he wasn't the criminal. So that gave him that extra dimension that I think you're referring to, that a hero needs. Not just big muscles and a guy who says, oh, a crime is being committed, I'd better catch the crook, and that's the end of it.
Daniel, what do you think?
Well, I think they're absolutely right for both comics and the big screen, but on the small screen, an anti-hero might not be as successful because what? It's episodic, you gotta like the character. Superman, this guy's a lover, not a fighter. You like him, you want to see him every week.
Ever since Superman got married, by the way, he's not working for me. Go ahead.
He's a family guy now.
Right.
But doesn't that reflect the real problem of normal episodic television? Nothing can change. The characters are going to be there week in and week out, and after a while, that gets boring.
But to get to the liking, I think that you can like any character. For instance, even though Spider-Man was referred to as an anti-hero, the readers loved him. It just depends, and it doesn't matter, I think, whether it's TV or movies. If the audience doesn't like the main character, you've got no show. It's not going to be a success.
Yeah, if the character is unsympathetic, then nobody's going to like it.
They've got to care about the character.
Your characters, Spider-Man and others, were flawed heroes. I think the real anti-hero would be the character, the hero from A Boy and His Dog. I mean, the first time you see him, you see he's rescuing a girl from some rapists, and then what you find out is he's rescuing her from the rapists because he wants to rape her. So he rescues the girl, but for all the wrong reasons. That's an anti-hero.
All right, well, this is a commercial break, so don't go away, folks. When we come back, we will still be right here in the War Room to find out what really makes a superhero work. Is it the writing, or the actor, or both? We're SF Vortex, and we're right back. Welcome back. We're Howard Stern's favorite sci-fi show. We're SF Vortex, and we are still in the War Room with the legendary Stan Lee, Warren James, and Daniel Bernardi. All right, we've been talking about superheroes versus anti-heroes. Hey guys, I think the survival of the superhero in television and movies depends 100% on who you get to play him. Stan, you agree?
Oh, no, not at all.
You don't?
No, in any movie or any television show, it depends tremendously on the story, on the director, on who the villain is, on who the hero is. I mean, well, you know, no movie is dependent on one element. If any of the elements aren't good, it can ruin the whole movie.
He's right. There are many pieces to the pie, and the narrative is probably the most important thing, the story. No great actor can make a terrible story worthwhile. I mean, we all know films in which there were great actors in interesting parts where the story stunk. And what, you fell asleep? You know.
But yet if you get a good actor,
Well,
they can bring an element of physicality to the role that adds that icing on the cake that makes it believable. Christopher
That's
Reeve
what I was
doing
gonna say.
Superman. The most wonderful bit of physical acting I ever saw was he was on the Johnny Carson show one night without any special effects, makeup, or anything. He stands up, you look at him, he's Clark Kent. He turns around, when he's looking at the camera again, he's Superman. It was all physical acting.
You're absolutely right, but he also had a great script, he had a great director. I mean, you need everything.
I would never say that it depends totally on the
Yeah.
acting.
And
it is all of those things.
And
Now,
or
say-
when he didn't have a great script in Superman 2 and Superman 3, it stunk. You didn't like it, you didn't go.
Now,
But-
take
but
the
the-
first Batman movie.
Okay.
I think that the reason for the success of that was really Jack Nicholson and the mood of the movie that the director gave it.
Yeah.
You know, but who played Batman, to my mind, was almost irrelevant because nobody paid attention to that. They were looking at Nicholson and they were looking at the wonderful sets and the dark feeling and everything that you don't usually get with a superhero story. But as far as flawed superheroes and anti-superheroes that we were talking about before, it seems to me an anti-superhero is really a villain. And a flawed superhero, and I agree with what you said before, is usually the most interesting type. Forget heroes. In any kind of story, a flawed character, a flawed lead character is more interesting than a perfect
Well,
character.
it gets
But
back
wait,
to the-
are there any true anti-heroes in Hollywood films? I don't see any. I see a lot of flawed heroes.
Dolph Lundgren?
Tons.
Just kidding.
Well, I mean,
flawed for a
I think
different
in Boy
reason.
and His Dog, you had a flawed hero, but that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, flawed, but not anti-hero.
No, I mean, he was. No, I take it back. He was an honest anti-hero. He was pretty despicable, although he did heroic
But even
things.
literally,
But that was 20 years ago.
An anti-hero is against the hero. The anti-hero is the villain. In the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, Dr. Doom is the anti-hero, and the Fantastic Four are the heroes. There can be no other
But then what's the
interpretation.
difference between, I think an anti-hero is someone you don't like who acts from the wrong reasons but maybe does the right thing. So you can have an anti-hero fighting against a villain.
Who almost does
No,
the right
no,
thing for
no.
a malicious intent.
If
That's
he
an
does-
anti-hero.
If somebody does something heroic, then he's really not an anti-hero.
Unless it's by
Person-
accident. If it's by accident or by malice, then, it's heroic by proxy. It's
Somebody who
still,
does something-
It's heroic by accident.
It's by accident.
Anybody who's heroic by malice, I'd have to shoot the writer. I'd say, what kind of story are you
Would you
giving
like
me?
us
It
to go
doesn't
get you a
make
gun and we'll
sense.
go out and hunt?
No, I mean, it has to be organized. You have a hero, you have
Organize
a
a
villain.
hunt.
Hopefully you have a flawed hero, and even more interestingly, if you get a flawed villain also. Flawed characters are the ones
Well, the thing to
people go
remember
for.
about villains is villains never think of themselves as villains. They always think of themselves as the good guy. So what you've got is the villain who thinks of himself as a good guy, and our protagonist hero, anti-hero, flawed hero,
That's
whoever.
true much of the time, yeah. That's
You know,
true.
very seldom does a villain wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I'm going to go kick a cat and throw some old lady out of her house."
No, they haven't.
They always think they're good guys.
I'm one
On
of
that
the...
note, let me get. While I have you guys here, I got to ask you about First Contact, the Star Trek movie. Warren, have you seen it? Did you like it? You got about a minute here.
I've seen First Contact, and I didn't like it very much. It had plot holes, innumerable plot holes. inconsistencies, problems, consistency problems within the movie,
Warren.
and then problems being consistent
Okay,
with the rest of Star
Warren,
Trek.
What didn't you like about it?
Well, wait a
Warren's
minute.
absolutely right, because it's been there, done that. Time travel, been there, done that. Good Brent Spiner, bad Brent Spiner. Data, been there, done that. Data fully functional, been there, done that. Star Trek needs to think of new ways to tell a story.
Yeah.
In a minute we have left, let's see if you agree with Rick Kelvington, one of our viewers who sent us this letter. He says the production values were high, the risk great, but First Contact never connected for me. Maybe they just can't make a good Trek film without the original crew. What do you think, Daniel?
No. It's not the original crew. The Next Generation crew, these are some good actors and some excellent characters. And even in this film, Worf is great, Data's pretty good, you know, Picard is usual. The problem here is story. This
You're
story
right.
is old, it's been used, we've seen it before.
Even though that it's an old and well-used story, the problem is also all the inconsistencies, stupid plot holes, Deus Ex Machina. I mean, they've got more problems with the story.
And you know what?
They've got
Here's the
great
big problem.
effects.
They
great-
destroyed the Borg. The Borg were a great villain because they were collective and indifferent.
Yeah, but they wrote
here
them
the Borg-
differently.
Yeah, here
They
the
wrote
Borg-
them
On account of
They
you
weren't
guys, I'm going to have
collectives.
to go out and see the movie.
No, but the thing is, what
haven't
you
seen
had
it yet,
was
Santa.
great effects, great
Well, you're
model
very
work,
busy.
great costumes, good acting. Everything was good except
Keep
the
talking.
writing.
That's it for the War
I
Room,
wish you
guys.
hadn't
I
told
wanna
me they
thank my
destroyed
guests,
the Borg.
Stan Lee, Warren Dames,
you
Daniel
ruined my whole
Bernardi.
pleasure
Don't
destroying
go away.
the
We're going to
Borg.
take a look at what you have to say about the world of sci-fi.
Who
West
destroys
of
Borg?
Vortex rolls on. See you in a minute.